dedicated so much of his life giving back to his country. And as you know, the city of San Fernando is always the trendsetter. So we are glad to be the first ones to present him with an award. And I see the Superior Regional Corporation and even the President followed on our style. A couple of weeks back, someone spread a terrible rumor that we had lost Angelo. I don't even know how to describe how I felt that day. I began texting important people in the society only to be looking like a fool. Who knows what the motive for that virtual propaganda was? But whatever his reasons, it just brought out more love. It showed us all the people who are rallying around Angelo, whether they are close to him, whether they know him, or they just know of him. Everybody was affected. It just proved the positive force that Angelo is, in the way he lives his life, with the grace that he faces his prognosis, and with his amazing intelligence and talent that he has chosen to share with us. One thing I learned from Angelo is that after interacting with him more so now than ever, because we were schoolmates, is we must not take nothing in life for granted. The air we breathe, the feet we walk, the eyes that we see. Some people just take it for granted, like we take our parents or mothers for granted. We take our children, our fathers, we take the people who live around us for granted. We must not do it. And I want to remind all our skeleton ladies here tonight, and I want the men in the audience to know that there's nothing, you must always tell your mother, your wives, your daughters how much you love them. My mother is 80-something years old, going into almost 90, close to 90, and she's very healthy. And every morning, my mother kissed me, she hugged me up, and wished me the best before I leave home. So I want you all, and I'm telling you from experience, to treat your mothers very special, because you will never ever get another mother in your life. So, thank you, Angelo. I wish you all the best, and we have a special gift for you. I was waiting on you to come to City Hall, and I am so glad that our President was present at our key distribution ceremony. You know, nothing in life happens just like that, you know. It happens for a purpose. And Mr. President, you remember you came to a function, and I didn't know how to ask you to come upstairs. You remember that? Because you know you are a big person, I am a small person in San Fernando. And he willingly accepted to come upstairs to be part of the key distribution for Mr. Angelo Bissessarsingh. So I want to thank you, Mr. President, once again. You have been there for him. And I want to thank you all for being part of Angelo's history and legacy. So, without further ado, I'd like to thank you, and once again, drive home safely, because you are in a safe city and a wonderful city. Thank you.
Folks, that was such a moving tribute, but I want you to know tonight that my friendship with His Worship the Mayor has stood many trials. That it started a long time ago when he stood between me and a great people. And that people grew greater, and it grew all the more powerful. And yet when it threatened to destroy him, he never denied me his friendship and protection. So several weeks ago, we were at his office, and he noted how bare the walls were. So I made him a promise that I would rectify the situation. However, shortly after I procured the means of rectifying the situation, I got a CT scan that told me that I have to pack up and make things ready to go, if you know what I mean. So it was delayed for a little while, but it shall be delayed no longer. So I'll ask my sister Camila to bring. What I have done is I have tried to marshal my collection of historic photographs of San Fernando, several of which appear in the volume that is now on the table before us. So I hope that now City Hall, the office of His Worship the Mayor, may he reign long, and everyone who comes thereafter in his position will appreciate what is there and what I wish to present tonight. This is just a small sample of it. The rest will be given to His Worship upon his departure here tonight.
I have to tell you all that I have to declare every gift I get to the Integrity Commission. So I want you all to see what I am getting. First picture here is the first town hall. It was in 1930 it was broken down. And then we have the second one here. This was in 1931, and then we have one recently. Yeah. So we have a history in San Fernando, and I want to thank you very sincerely on behalf of the whole citizens of San Fernando, because this belongs to the city and not to me.
It was so beautifully unexpected. I mean, everybody, this is what people like Angelo do to us. It just fills us with this sense of love, and this is what he does and what he shares with us. So thank you very much, Your Worship. Thanks, Angelo. Well, we are indebted as a country to our next speaker, who has made valuable contributions in recording our history, and as a political activist has played a dynamic role in shaping our country, and whose name will be called when we think dedication and commitment to education and public service. He was awarded the Chiconia Medal Gold in 2014. A professor at the University of the West Indies, he has been described as warm, kind, and a man with deep integrity, who has touched many lives through his teaching and has ignited the passion for knowing and investing in our country. Brechin Castle Sugar Museum and Archive Centre has been the work and passion of this esteemed historian, and as a mentor to Angelo, we have also worked on several projects together. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present Professor Brinsley Samuel.
His Excellency the President and Mrs. Carmona, Haji Kazim Hussein. I'm really pleased to meet him once again. When I became Minister of Local Government many years ago, it was his father who inducted me into how I should conduct myself in that particular ministry. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all of you, particularly members of the committee which has been generally overseeing Angelo's work over the last few years. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all of you. I'm very happy to be in San Fernando, where I spent the most formative years of my life. When I was a student at Naparima College, this particular area was all covered in swamps, enormous crabs and snakes and fish and so on. And I'm so pleased to see the transformation that has taken place since that time. In a foreword to an earlier publication by Angelo, namely Snapshots of the History of Trinidad and Tobago, published in 2015, I expressed the hope that that volume would not be his last publication, since he had so much more to offer. That expectation of mine was not in vain, for it is being fulfilled this evening as we launch virtual glimpses into the past, snapshots of the history of Trinidad and Tobago. This book is, once again, part of Angelo's continuing project of presenting Trinbago to more than 1 million Trinbagonians here in Trinidad and in a wide diaspora all over the world. During the last 2 decades, I often wondered about this young man's unquenchable love for the past. And I'm so often reminded of the moonshades, that is the record keepers, and the rishis, that is the learned ones, whom one always encounters in holy places in northern India, in the very locations from which Angelo's ancestry came. And these rishis, these munis, these recorders can trace one's ancestry for 500 or 600 years of past births and deaths. Exactly 1 month ago today, I was among many thousands who thronged the banks of the Ganges and who sought wisdom and who sought information from these rishis. On printed bark and preserved leaves, they open up a world of wonderment as they recall the families. You go and you give your name, you tell them something of your ancestry. And I found that they had so many names of people from the Caribbean in those records that they have preserved for hundreds of years. Angelo's ancestors came from these very locations of scribes and record keepers who were forced to leave from Burapur and Barapur and Faizabad and Coromandel to seek a better life in a place that was told to them was Trinidad, land of sugar. It seems, therefore, that is that biogenetic memory which came as a part of Angelo's ancestral DNA and asserted itself in Superior and thence to the national stage. And I have to tell Angelo I was not satisfied when I looked at his interview last evening, in which he gave what to me was too superficial an explanation for doing what he does. He said he saw a void to be filled, and so he tried to fill that void. I am saying that we are dealing with something far profounder than that simple explanation that he tried to give on IETV last night. So we have to go back, in my mind, to that biogenetic memory. How else can one explain Angelo's early penchant for visiting cemeteries to read gravestones, when most of us would hardly visit our ancestors' burial place for more than once a year, generally at Latrosi? Most of us dread going to the cemetery. For Angelo, it is a place wherefrom he can commune with the spirits. How else except by this biogenetic memory and its transference from India to the Caribbean. Can one explain his useful collecting of political pamphlets, advertising leaflets dropped by bicycle peddlers, and a host of other ephemera? How else can one explain his ardent seeking of church records in dusty vestries where he disturbed continuously whole colonies of cockroaches? Angelo could take you through Palmis or Golconda or other places right here athwart of San Fernando in the Naparimas and identify very specific graves or monuments whilst asking the present owners of those sites to preserve these artifacts in their particular property. I've had the experience of going and seeing a number of these places as I pursue my own historical research, and thanks to Angelo, I am now far better informed than otherwise. It is the dominance of that ancestral memory which can explain his intense knowledge of early tractors and motorcycles, and his knowledge of how and what were the circumstances, the exact circumstances, where the revolutionary, one of the first heroes of Trinbago, Daga, was executed in St. Joseph in August 1837. I am delighted that he has not published that in any of his books, because that is a very sad, very chilling story. Angelo becomes so excited when he makes these discoveries that he is eager to share them with as many people as possible. Hence his establishment of a virtual museum so filled with pictures and analysis. The Trinidad Guardian must be commended for publishing one of his essays every Sunday since 2012. And I'm very pleased to see that the Express has now taken up the gauntlet with the probing pieces from Richard Sharon. Driven by this irresistible force to probe into the past, Angelo published Walking with the Ancestors, the Historic Cemeteries of Trinidad, and that was published in 2013. In presenting photographs of tombstones, he was able to contextualize each one of these, reminding us of who the person was and why they should be memorialized. In 2015, there was a walk back to time, snapshots in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. This was the first installment of photos and narratives which covered a wide range of hitherto unexplored places and events which have shaped our past. So Pol Pots and canneries were juxtaposed with that most unappreciated member of our society, the King Hobo, after whom a prominent part of Port of Spain was named Hobo Town. In today's volume that we are launching this evening, there is an elaboration of Hobo Town, so that this volume continues in that same tradition, pouring out new and abundant information on very important popular landmarks in both our islands, Trinidad and Tobago. In this particular volume, Tobago is certainly not left out. On pages 206 and 207, there is a fascinating story of Pancho Campbell, who was adopted from the Congo by Brazilian slavers. Rescued by a British warship, he was indentured in Tobago in 1851, where he lived until 1938, well over a century in age. and I believe that Angelo has already prepared the front cover of the biography of Pancho Campbell, on which he is currently working. There are also two very revealing articles on Tobago treasures, Tobago artifacts, preserved by the various descendants of people who were slaves on those great houses and who have kept those Tobago treasures. He has a very good article and some good pictures on those Tobago treasures, as well as on Tobago turtles, which was a major food for sailors during the 19th century. So as in the previous volume, Tobago is certainly center stage in this one also. And then there is a ramble through villages and towns, which provides with rare glimpses of places like Gasparillo and Harmony Hall in the south, as well as Valencia and San Grande in the northeast. And he has a particularly treasured photograph of an early settlement in the area of San Grande. So in these various ways, we obtain a panoramic view of both our islands, with coverage of the rural as well as the urban landscape. A constant feature of all of Angelo's work has been his passionate devotion to conservation. He never misses the opportunity to lament the manner in which this nation cares so little about the preservation of these important vestiges of our past. He was shocked, as he told us in that interview last night, by the recent demolition of Beryl McBurney's house, or the pulling down of Great Friars Church in Port of Spain. Now I want to add that the Lionel House in Chaguanas will soon be gone, because it is almost completely collapsed within itself. And of course, as these buildings are lost, as they are broken down, as we lose them forever as part of the national memory, there is always the ritual shedding of crocodilian tears in the newspapers afterwards. That is after these precious monuments are no longer. If we are to create a love for nation, pride in ourselves, and a respectful memorial for those who made us into who we are, then preservation of our past is an essential ingredient of self-realization and national development. It is no wonder then that a whopping 68% of our university graduates have opted to go abroad and stay away, partly because they say there is so little to attract them to stay back in Trinbago. We rank third in the brain drain chart after Guyana and Haiti, and I don't think that is something of which we should be proud. Even if we disregard this cultural component about which I am talking about, and the importance of the cultural argument, there is so much that we can earn through heritage tourism. Ask Barbados, ask China, ask India, from which I have come from a month's tour or so of these monumental places. Ask these countries how this can be done, and you don't have to go and reinvent the way. You simply have to see what has been done, and we have to follow suit. Heritage tourism now beckons us forward, and Angelo's books give us a prized opening into that exciting world. Tonight, therefore, we salute a pioneer in the creation of new vistas of opportunity for Trinbago. Thank you very much.
And that I trust that all your hard work, Angelo's hard work, will continue to ignite a passion to preserve and celebrate this beautiful Trinidad and Tobago. Well, I was first introduced to our next speaker through social media. In fact, only recently I saw a very curious picture of a 4-year-old boy standing near a grave with a broad and satisfied grin. The photo's caption suggested that this was, in fact, a vacation to Margarita, and this pit stop was initiated by the child's fascination with cemeteries. Of course, that 4-year-old boy was Angelo. Now, as a mother, I would be a little bit rattled if my 4-year-old had been mildly obsessed with funerary grounds. I'm not sure that I would have appeased that desire, but the Bissessarsingh family, being the nurturers that they are, understood and supported Angelo on this amazing journey. Pamela Bissessarsingh is Angelo's aunt and a retired school teacher, and Angelo attended the Erin Presbyterian school at which she taught. They were always close, and she has been a huge influence on his greatest and one of his greatest admirers, the foundation on which great families are built. Please help me welcome to the podium Patricia Bissessarsingh.
Your Excellency President Anthony Pomona and Mrs. Rima Pomona, Mr. Nigel Khan, host of this event, Monsignor Pereira, His Worship Mayor Kazim Hussain, Ms. Carrie Ann Bishop, members of Angelo's committee, distinguished guests, members of the media, family members, and all members of Angelo's extended family, as he so fondly refers to you, his past. First of all, on behalf of the Bissessarsingh family, I want to thank each one of you present tonight for taking time off your busy schedule to celebrate with Angelo his 34th birthday, as well as the launch of his new book, Earthier Glimpses into the Past. Many of you would have wondered about what Angelo was like as a young child. What kinds of early childhood experiences did this young Angelo have that drives his obsession with the past? Mine is a pleasure tonight to share with you some anecdotes of Angelo's life that has been hidden from the public and kept only in our memory. Angelo is a truly amazing young man who has made a bigger impact on my life than he will ever know. I vividly remember, even at birth, Angelo created quite a drama that night at the San Fernando hospital. In fact, the nurses had to put my brother out because his mother had him by cesarean, and he was crying so loudly that he was disturbing the other patients from giving birth. As soon as Angelo entered this world, he was placed with another infant in an incubator to stabilize his breathing. When his concerned father asked the head nurse in the nursery, "How is my son doing?" she replied, "Daddy, that child ain't dinner. He don't want no other child in the incubator with him. He done punching and kicking. What you worried about? He's a born fighter." As a young boy growing up, he would spend most of his time with his late grandfather, Ulrich Bissessarsingh, and his grandmother, Teresa, who is in the audience tonight. Unlike most young children, he was an avid listener and would listen attentively as books were read to him, even as a baby. Maybe this was because his mother, Carmen, also has a passion for reading and would read aloud to her baby while he was still in the womb. At age 2, we began to brace ourselves for the terrible tools. But unlike other toddlers at that age, much to our surprise and relief, I might add, Angelo was fascinated and excited with stories of yesteryear, as narrated by my father, who was also a great storyteller. So many hours would be spent on his grandfather's lap, enthralled by the stories of Subuya, Lazarus, Gwen, the Phantom Inquiry. Angelo just could not hear enough of those stories. It's a good thing my father retired when Angelo was born. Books we could not purchase enough to keep pace with Angelo's needs. I remember my sister, Professor Angelo Bissessarsingh, who is in the audience tonight, and 5-year-old Angelo standing outside the bookstore in this very mall, having a serious dispute. Angelo insisted that his aunt purchase the books, Charles Darwin and the Galapagos Voyages, for him. My sister Anne-Marie felt that the book was not suitable for such a young child. Might I add too, she felt it was a bit costly. Guess who won the case and went home a happy child that day? His prized possession tucked safely under his arm. My sister had no battle with. No Jack and the Beanstalk and 3 Little Cakes for Angelo. He was fascinated by Charles Dickens' classics. His favorite reading material was a set of Compton's Encyclopedia. Someone gave Angelo's dad as a gift. At age 3, Angelo was already reading material that was way beyond his age group. Once he got his hands on a new book, he could not wait to get home to begin reading. When Angelo was about 3 and a half, his father bought Angelo a new book in Gulf City Mall. It was a book on the evolution of man. Angelo got so excited looking at the illustrations in the book that he soon got separated from his parents and younger sibling, Mario. His eyes were glued to the images on the pages of this new book. And being the smart boy that he would just lift his eyes every few minutes to ensure he was following the legs of a woman whom he thought at that time belonged to his mother. Luckily for us, kidnapping wasn't prevalent at that time, because we certainly would have lost Angelo that day. The woman was kind enough to bring him back into the mall in search of his parents. Teaching Angelo in primary school was both a privilege, but there were moments when he tested your patience as a teacher. Angelo was never the one to take the teacher's word for granted. I remember when he was in second year, we were asked to fill out a form stating ethnic grouping of each child in the classroom. Angelo's teacher, not even bothering to consult this child who was 6 years old, took it for granted and wrote East Indian next to Angelo's name. Who told her to do so? Angelo was very upset, insisting that he had been told by his father he was a Trinidadian and not no East Indian. Angelo asked excuse, pretending he was going to the washroom, but instead came into my class thoroughly upset, asking me to go and quarrel with the teacher for not believing he's a Trinidadian. The teacher, being a friend of the family, to pacify young Angelo, had to explain that we are all Trinidadians, but our ancestors came from different places. Now you would think, being the favorite aunt, I hope my sister doesn't get angry because she was the favorite aunt, I would have no problem being Angelo's teacher. Well, think again. Angelo was always reading and he enjoyed being one step ahead of all the others in the class. What I did not know at the time, that he wanted to be one step ahead of his teacher too. My embarrassing moment came when trying to teach children about the attributes of a 5-cent coin of Trinidad and Tobago. Like a well-prepared teacher, I had coins for all children in the class to examine. Lesson was proceeding well, until I made the error and said the bird depicted at the back of the coin was a coquelicot. Every child agreed. They believed the teacher, except our boy Angelo. He raised his hand, stood up bravely and said, "You are wrong, Auntie. That is not a coquelicot. It is a picture of a bird of paradise." Now which teacher would want a 5-year-old correcting her in front of her class and within hearing of other teachers in the infant department? A bit embarrassed, I told him, "Shut up." He was wrong and asked him to sit down. Well, poor chap. He did as his aunt asked. I breathed a sign of relief and thought I had handled the matter very well. At least that is what I thought. As soon as Angelo got home that day, although we had no access to computers in those days, the family had a very large collection of books covering various topics and content. Of course, by now you would guess, Angelo knew every book he owned. He soon located Birds of the World, found a page with a picture of a bird of paradise, compared it with the picture depicted on the 5-cent coin, showed his father and told him, "Papa, you know something happened today? Auntie teaching children the wrong thing in school." My brother, being a teacher, also chastised me for not researching my information before teaching it. "You're lucky, Angelo, in that class," he said to me. "You will have to do some damage control." Yes, stood little Angelo with a broad grin on his face. He's had that right now, waiting for me to admit that I was wrong. That was not all. To further humiliate me, he demanded that I apologize to the entire class, which I did the next morning. It was a humbling experience for me. But you know what? I learned a valuable lesson that day. Do your research before you enter a classroom. You never know when a little Angelo might be waiting for you to make a soup. Besides his love for reading and hearing stories of long ago, another favorite activity which Angelo enjoyed was the family road trips every weekend to various beaches in South Trinidad, especially during the first 4 years of his life. On these trips, Angelo would be fascinated with historical sites, pointed out by my father along the drive. When passing by an old building, he would ask his grandfather to stop the car to get a closer look. Then came the barrage of questions. "Papi, who built that house? Who lived there? What happened to them? Why is that house looking so old and falling down? Where are all the children gone? They can't even fix the house now?" On one occasion, I do not even think his mother and father knew of this incident, because they would have never forgiven my father for endangering their son's life. My father and mother decided to take Angelo along with them to Erin Beach to purchase fish. On reaching Erin Junction, Angelo noticed a derelict house on the verge of collapsing and asked his grandfather to stop. Both of them came out of the car, leaving my mother seated inside the car. My father told us that Angelo noticed the open doorway and curiosity got better of him. He had to go in. He just had to go in to see what was inside of his house. Of course, his exploration was short-lived when my mother screamed from the car, "You let the house will collapse and kill my grandchild. Come out from there." You can well imagine the panic of my father. He had the time of his life pulling a ranting and raving red little Angelo out of the building that day. I'm still wondering at times how come my father did not get a heart attack that day. A few years after, Angelo found out that the said house actually belonged to a man by the name Dr. John Mulbrook, who was an archaeologist in Trinidad during the period 1919 to 1967. Who knows, maybe the spirit of John Mulbrook actually might have manifested itself in this young child so many years ago. We will never know. Cemeteries, however, fascinated Angelo. When he was 4 years old, my mother and I took Angelo to the island of Margarita for a vacation, and you know women, of course we planned to do a little shopping as well. You would not believe it, but on the trip to the hotel, Angelo's eyes happened to spy a cemetery. And guess what? For the next few days, while everyone else was busy shopping, Angelo, his grandmother and I were touring all the cemeteries in Margarita. The trip actually awakened an interest in Angelo for finding out more about his ancestors by visiting the cemeteries in which they were buried. As he grew up, his interest to unearth our rich cultural past took up almost all his leisure time. Those who know Angelo would agree with me that Angelo has a most beautiful sense of humor. He could make the most mundane of events seem the most interesting with his gift for storytelling. No one could relate his story quite like he does. And no matter where he finds himself, he always utilizes his great sense of humor to inspire people too. Just ask his last boss, Donna Woods, in disaster management at the Sapara Regional, and she will tell you how much they learned and enjoyed having Angelo along with them as a field officer and lockway in the southwestern peninsula conducting disaster management lectures. Their journeys, however, according to Ms. Woods, was always filled with stories of historical sites, even stopping at times to go and tour themselves. You should see Angelo when he has to undergo chemo for 3 consecutive days every week for the period of 8 months in 2015. Never a complaint. Always had his nurses and even fellow patients around him, listening to one of his stories. So taking up some time with these stories, cancer patients in the ward claimed they were able to forget for brief moments the pain and agony they were going through. This is the kind of soul Angelo possesses, always trying to bring a measure of comfort and joy to those around him. Angelo, Mario, and Carmelita, unlike other children, were fortunate to have an extended family of aunts and an uncle living right next door, with no other children in sight. This meant that their early childhood days were filled with many adventures. In fact, people often wondered who were the actual parents of these children. When he was 3, my sister, Professor Angelo Bissessarsingh, who worked in Port Spain, took him with her to work one day. She told us that while passing in front of the Red House, Angelo got excited and asked her to stop driving. The first thought that entered her mind was, of course, the child needed to use the washroom because of the long drive from Sapara to Port of Spain. Now in those days, no seat belts, no child locks on doors, and no car seats. So as soon as my sister brought the car to a stop, Angelo literally flew out of the car in front of the red house on the curb with his arms folded and declared, "I made laws here." There was never a dull moment when Angelo was around. My mother each year in July always hired a maxi taxi so the entire family could visit one of the historical sites in Port of Spain and environs. When Angelo was 7, one of the stops was Mount St. Benedict. Again, Angelo had his own agenda. He observed one of the priests standing near to a wall overlooking the cemetery on the mount. Of course, he left us and decided to go and have a conversation with the priest. There he sat on the wall, very comfortably, chatting with the priest about their religious philosophy. On leaving, he was presented with a chapelet, and the priest remarked to him, "You, my child, have a special calling in life." These words stayed in the back of Angelo's mind, I am certain, although he never mentioned that incident again. As a young man, Angelo never took a day off from work, took after his aunt, except at Christmas time, when he would don his Santa Claus attire to bring happiness and joy to hundreds of children in schools and communities. And I must confess that I took advantage of this being a principal for the last 15 years. Angelo became known as the resident Santa for St. Patrick. I vividly remember the first time Angelo visited Chatham Government Primary School, and I have a colleague from Chatham here this afternoon, Miss Penny, welcome, all the way from Cyprus. Although Santa arrived via the Paria Regional Prado vehicle instead of sleigh and reindeer as expected by the children, it did not matter one bit to the children who lived in this rural community. They earnestly believed he was the real Santa Claus from the North Pole. He was mobbed and could not even move when they surrounded him, hugging and beaming with smiles, not wanting to let him go. I really do not know how he survived that day. Unknown to me, Angelo often brought additional gifts from his own money and had them tucked away in a red bag out of my sight. Luckily, he had that foresight to do so, because what greeted him at the gates of the Chatham Government School when leaving that day was a sight to behold. All the little village children who were too young to attend school stood with their parents waiting to get a glimpse of the Santa Claus from the North Pole. Like the true Santa, they were not to be disappointed. Of course, Santa had toys for all of them. I could not resist taking a photo of this act of kindness. When I showed Angelo the photo yesterday, he just chuckled and said, "And you expected anything different from me? I was Santa." Not all children, however, was happy to greet Santa with a great smile and hug. 2 years ago at Santa Clara Government Primary School, a parent approached me and asked me if a 13-year-old Down syndrome daughter could be allowed to meet Santa. Now, as principal, our policy was that only children attending school would be allowed this privilege, because we could not afford to buy toys for everyone. I mentioned this to Angelo, and he said, "Auntie, she's a special child. Please make an exception and let her come." He fooled my sister Anne-Marie, talking very nicely to her, for her to purchase a very expensive baby doll. On the day, however, one look at Santa and little Miss Lizzie ran out of the school, bawling and screaming to the top of her lungs. Now you would think Angelo would forget about the little child, say good riddance, and attend to all the others waiting for their toys. But you know what? He spied the child standing looking on from outside at all the other children playing with their toys. Angelo left his seat and went outside with the doll in his hand. As he reached out to give the toy, Missy snatched it out of his hand, clutched the doll tightly to her chest, and gave him a big, broad smile. He told me on many occasions that the expression of joy and happiness etched on those tiny faces to him was worth more than anything money could buy. These are the little things that make Angelo a champion in my eyes. Always giving freely of his time and money to make others happy. In growing up, Angelo was always thirsty for knowledge, especially about his own country. His sole intention was aimed at retrieving inner beauty of our rich multicultural historical past and displaying his discovery for all to see. He created his virtual museum and string together the most beautiful narratives of yesterday that awaken in so many an interest in reconnecting them with their past. He often told me that his dream was to do all that he could to develop in others a national pride and identity in who they are as a people with a rich cultural heritage. History publications are testimony to the achievement of that dream, a legacy he leaves behind for all who follow. This would not have been possible without the kind intervention of Angelo's host of earth, of guardian angels, as he so fondly calls them. Mrs. Simon de la Bastide, Mrs. Julie Raymond, Professor Princess Amaru, the Dr. McLean, Ms. Francesco Hawkins, Nigel Khan, and Queen's Bishop Publishing. Words can never begin to express our gratitude to all of you for making Angelo's dream of having his work published a reality. You have done such a good job that I want to suggest tonight that the committee get others involved and set up a Make a Wish Come True for cancer patients in Trinidad and Tobago. You would never know the joy and comfort you have brought to Angelo. Throughout his ordeal in his battle with cancer, not one day has he neglected every day I'm in Carmen's house looking at Angelo, talking with him, having chat. Not one day have I heard Angelo complain or bemoan his fate. Instead, he would say to me, you know, Auntie, I just got another idea for a book. And when most would be sleeping at night, he would be at his computer, busy putting his thoughts and ideas down in print. I am truly honored to be your Aunt Angelo. Often when I look at your passion, dedication, and commitment in recalling our forgotten past, despite your terminal illness, I suspect in the back of your mind, like the first day you entered this world, you are trying to get a punch out, telling him, I need more time to complete my 2 other books that I have already started. Happy birthday, Angelo. You are blessed not only to your own family, but to all your fans. You are my nephew, but I love you as much as if you were my own son. Because you cannot imagine how much joy you have brought into the life of my brothers and sisters. I cherish the day that you were born, and as each day passes, I thank God for the wonderful young man you have become. You have taught us all the value of life. You persevered through many disappointments that came your way. You overcame obstacles in your path, even defying death itself when given just 2 months to live in January 2015. Never giving up on your dreams to awaken that interest in our historical past. Well done, Angelo, and congratulations. In a time when most people criticize your generation of being lazy, unimaginative, ambitious, you have proven to be an inspiration for so many. Just look around tonight. and you will get that inner feeling and joy and happiness. That as the priest said to you a very long time ago, you were sent to this earth for a special reason. Your life has not been in vain. Thank you, Mr. Nigel Khan and staff for hosting this event. It is the best birthday gift any person for them ask for in their entire life. What makes it an even more memorable one is the fact that you all took the time out to be here with Angelo today. We appreciate your presence. Thank you all and God bless you.
Undoubtedly, the gift of storytelling and painting beautiful pictures runs in the Bissessarsingh family. Thank you very much for that. There's a group of people that really have worked tirelessly with Angelo to make this endeavor a reality. And I would like to now invite all of the committee members to please come to the stage as we take this opportunity to wish Angelo a happy birthday anniversary.
Good evening, everyone. Our task is brief today, this evening. Your Excellencies, Mayor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media. We have a special presentation for Angelo's birthday. Angelo? This is indeed a very special gift that we have for Angelo, and he will open it for us shortly. The entire committee, Nigel, Carrie-Ann, the whole team worked day and night to get this going. And this is a special cake that we had made for Angelo. It's all the books, the virtual museum, snapshots, walk back in time, the gold medal. Unfortunately, it's up and you'll down the key of the city, the gold key. Old house, Angelo history, and a very special surprise. If you'd open the gift, Angelo, from everyone involved. And it actually is a cake, and we will ask Angelo to cut the cake with his mother and his sister. Huh? We'll do this first. Yeah? Yeah? Let me help. You should be doing this. What? Okay. The box says Inayas Printing. Doesn't know about it. Just okay. And Nigel is holding a big surprise. Flip it. This is Angelo's book that he was hoping to have published very soon, and he doesn't know the book has been published. So it's happy birthday, Angelo, from all of us.
So unexpected. I'm at a loss for words, and that's not often. Thank you all so very, very much. I'm moved. I'm moved beyond words. This is an incredible honor, and I'm glad that I have so many friends who think so much of me to do me this honor tonight. Thank you.
Hi, Angelo. We've done your book in its entirety for this launch, as well as you have a special piece of memorabilia here that'll last forever, with all the members of your committee in here. Go ahead. And then at the end of this afternoon, we'd like everyone's signature, starting with the President of the Republic and the Mayor, in this piece of work, and all guests. So thank you very much for coming, everyone. Angelo, it's up to you now.
Judy has a few words to say.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Mr. President, Mrs. Carmona, Your Worship the Mayor, friends, everyone. I just want to say a few words about the plaque with which Angelo has just been presented. Last year, as we all know, Angelo got the worst possible news from his doctors out of the blue, and not only did he accept it with courage and grace, but he immediately shared it with his fans, his readers, his followers, his friends, in a word, his family, because one of his gifts is that he's made us all part of his family. I don't know many things that you can say that are of any comfort to someone in his position, but some words did come to mind, and I sent them to him. Those are the words that are engraved on the plaque. I wasn't sure how they would go down, but Angelo is a writer. He is a man who is not afraid to look the truth in the face, and he's also a man with a sense of humor that never fails, as I'm sure you all know. And he got it when I sent him these words, as I realized when he responded immediately by writing back to me, you know, that have to go on the tombstone, right? The words are from the Roman poet Hollis, who lived 2,000 years ago, and whose work is still read today. And they proclaim what every writer hopes for. And they say, Exegi monumentum aere perennius, non omnis moria, multaque pars mei vitabit libitinam, usque ego postera crescam laude recens. And for the less mature among us, what that means is, I have built a monument more lasting than bronze. I shall not wholly die, and a great part of me will escape the goddess of death. I shall grow greater still, fresh with newer praise. And that's what we all wish for Angelo.
Can we ask Angelo's mum and his sister to come up and cut the cake with him?
We also need Marlene Gani, who will lead us in Happy Birthday, because we all can't sing.
Happy birthday to
Happy birthday, dear Angelo. Happy birthday to you. Okay, shall we do it? Oh, he's a jolly good fellow. Oh, he's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us.
Thanks to the committee.
The fallout of my illness, I think the shock of what just happened took my knees away from me. So, allow me first, not just to begin the speech in the traditional manner, but by saying that if the Eastern religions are right, and there is reincarnation of the soul, I could be reborn 1,000 times and not have friends and not have family like you. So thank you. At our last meeting together, I told you and I shared my fervent wish that when pancreatic cancer has finally won its battle with me, that people will continue doing what I have done and will do it indefinitely so that our story can be preserved. So I'm not rehashing that tonight. I am simply going to say thanks. Firstly, thank you to their excellencies, President Justice Anthony Thomas Aquinas Carmona and Mrs. Rima Carmona. Your kindness, compassion, and continued support has meant the world to me and my family, and I thank you deeply from the bottom of my heart for it. I also wish to thank the divine providence that has preserved me, because I lay no claim to being a man of great religious fervor or a man of any profound religious beliefs, but I believe that there is something watching over me, and I believe that whatever it is, and however we choose to redefine what we call God, it has been helped by the prayers of so many, not the least of which your prayers, Your Excellency, because I believe that goodwill has a tangible effect, and I have been richly endowed with that by you. I wish to thank not my committee. My committee has watched over me since I fell into the trap of cancer. And my committee has stood by me through immense torture and suffering. And they did it out of friendship, they did it out of goodwill, and they did it because they saw something that needed preserving and that I could help do that. So, Simone, the ever-ageless Francesca Hawkins, who looks the same way now that she did on TV, and I'm not going to say how long ago. But the queen of editors, my friend Judy Raymond, Jeffrey McLean, Professor Brinsley Samaru, who has been like a father unto me. I wish to thank you very, very deeply for all you have done for me, because you have concreted my legacy and you have rendered me a peace that I never thought possible. Thank you. To His Worship the Mayor, we will always and ever be friends, because we understand each other, and you have shown me kindness and friendship that I could never repay. So, Your Worship, thank you again. I have noticed tonight that one special person has come to the fore, my friend Chandra Sharma. If ever a man had a true friend, it is him. Chan, thanks a million for everything. To Mr. Nigel Arakan and Ms. Kerry Ann Bishop, I cannot call you publishers or agents anymore. In fact, I don't think I ever could, because like so many, you have become friend and family to me. You have never, never, never one day treated me as a client. You have treated me as family. And trust me, if you ever go into one of Nigel Khan's stores, you'll realize that his wonderful staff who's always here supporting everything that I do, they are happy. And that is because they have great leadership. So Nigel, Kerry Ann, thank you so very much for everything. To my family, my parents, siblings, my 2 siblings to whom this book is dedicated, my grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, and even some extended family, like my sister-in-law Andrea across here. And I see that my friend Krista Glasgow is here. Krista has an important part to play in this, because when I was a year old, my father started taking me to school. So it was Krista's responsibility to make sure that I didn't end up drowning, breaking my neck, or something of a more sinister nature. So Krista, thank you for coming out tonight. I want to thank also my brothers from Naparima College. Guys, you're here? Or yes, there they are in force. One man could not wish for a more faithful cadre of friends. Thanks, guys. To those who have been long-standing friends of mine and those who became friends through the Virtual Museum Project, I wish to thank you all for everything that you've done for me. Like my friend Sharon Burford, who took over my virtual presence when cancer threatened to take my life just a few weeks ago. I also want to thank my friend Richard Calpe, who still, I hope is still here, because Richard is the king of all things weird and wonderful, and has helped me feed my passion for collecting things that really only a very diseased person would collect. So, thank you guys for all you have done. I also want to thank Citizens for Conservation, my friends Michelle Celestine and Joshua Luchikong, people like that who have been wonderfully supportive and embraced everything that I have done. You all have made my dream a reality. To my friends in the media, I always see my friends in the media are very, very faithful to me, because they come out whatever I ask them to support me in. Richard Charan, Paolo Kernahan, Deborah Wanza. I have friends in the media that I didn't know I had. I see my friend Rishi Raghunathan is here tonight. This is actually the first time that Rishi and I are in the same forum, and we're not focusing on a bloody car crash or walking through flood water or trying to get away from a burning house. So this is a new paradigm, right, Rishi? Thanks a million. To Naparima College, President, I'll have to apologize. And Nigel, I'll have to apologize. But this really is an Apps Boys forum tonight. To the greatest school in the world, and the best teachers in the world, and the best friends in the world, who have helped shape me and have brought me to the fore and helped me become who I am. Again, thank you. I also wish to thank very, very deeply, not friends, not fans, family. When I started the virtual museum project, I never understood how many people would join that with full force and become my friends later on in life. And I understand now that it's not simply a common platform of thinking, but that we all share some kinship, some very inexplicable energy that cannot be defined. So you all have not been friends and fans to me. You all are now family to me. You support me in everything that I have done, and I've turned everything that I have tried to do into a success. So this is my tribute to you. Thank you. To my doctors and the medical staff at the St. James Medical Complex, they have stood between death and me many, many times, and are standing right now in a gap that I threatened to topple into. I've always been very candid about what's happening. I went for a CT scan about 3 weeks ago, and long story short, the results are telling me, start packing up, it ain't going to be long again. It's multiple organ failure and several other ailments that cannot be counteracted. So, if indeed this is to be our last public appearance together, our last soiree together, I want to thank you because it has been a wonderful life. It has been a short life, but you all have made it a very rich experience for me. Every single one of you. And if I forget my gratitude for this, I should be shocked. May I be content. I also want to say a special shout out to one of the bravest men that I've ever met, my friend Brian Boucher, who has come here tonight to spend time with me. Brian and I were struck down at the same time. We were friends before that, but somehow it was decided that at the same time we would be checking out with different diagnoses. And if you thought that I was brave in facing my dilemma, Brian could teach me a thing or two. So Brian, salutations, brother. So I know it's been a long night, and I know that His Excellency and Her Excellency and His Worship the Mayor, as well as all the many of you who have taken time to come here and support me in this endeavor. I know you have much to do, and I don't wish to keep you back any longer. But again, accept my undying thanks and gratitude, and any blessing that may any blessing that fall on you, do so because for everything you have done for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Angelo, and I can tell you sincerely that you've enriched all of our lives as well. I'm not just saying that. Well, an ardent reader and avid supporter of Angelo and his work, please help me welcome to the podium His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Anthony Thomas Aquinas Carmona.
Her Excellency Mrs. Rima Komoda, His Worship the Mayor Alderman, Haji Qasim Hussein, Monsignor Christian Pereira, that very special person that has touched our lives and will continue to do so, Mr. Angelo Bissessarsingh, members of the Bissessarsingh family from South, members of the committee, Patricia Bissessar, Mr. Nigel Khan, Ms. Kerry Ann Bishop, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the media. I was handed this program as I arrived, and I looked at the program and I was told that I had to make special remarks. And I was in a dilemma, because how could you make special remarks for someone who is downright exceptional? What more can you say? What more can you do to engage in a type of celebration of a life that has been lived, one that in fact we have hoped to will continue to live, and one that in fact we're now being told is on the verge of being a lived life. And Angelo, in fact, I can tell you, everyone in this audience, we have prayed and we've prayed hard. And we will continue to pray hard. And we'll continue to invoke the power of God, because as long as you sit, as long as you stand, we feel deeply in our hearts that anything is possible. And we continue to pray for that miracle. I hear the story of Mr. Pouchet, who I don't know, and brothers in life. And it makes us reflect in a way that we are sometimes unable to cope, because we have here a celebration of a talent, of an exceptional talent, a talent that in fact, in the context of the void that you speak of, sir, because it brings a sense of genius. And maybe that is what he was talking about when he spoke about the void. And I do appreciate, Professor, your sense of tacit exasperation about a country that continues, in fact, to allow its birthright to deteriorate in many forms and fashion. Yes, ours is a tale of obscurity, a tale that makes us wonder why we are not doing more than we are doing, in fact, to save our heritage, a heritage that is found in the backyards and the alleys of small little towns and villages throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Because I can tell you, since I've in fact been going around and driving around in the back of a car, I am able to see a different picture of Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm seeing all those old houses, those old bridges that you speak of, that you write of, that you have told us about, in far-off places, not connected or related only to Port of Spain, but in Erin, in Rancho Quemado, in Manzanilla, in Tabaquit, And your rally cry, in the form of the books that you have written, is the rally cry of course, Professor Mr. McLean, who are prophets in a land that engages tales of obscurity. And I know sometimes in your quiet moments, you will wonder whether, in fact, you've been able to achieve as much as you would like to have achieved. But rest assured, this particular group of people who have come here from all races, all ethnicity, religion, is telling you in a very emphatic way that yes, there's no need for special remarks for someone exceptional. Because in this diaspora of ours, there is in fact a type of emotion that I feel, I sense. That great passion and that love for the person that you have been. And I still feel we ought not to give up. You know, and I feel in fact that tonight must not in fact be some kind of plodding death march for a lost or to a lost cause. I think it must in fact be a road to eternal salvation and a road that will light up with every step that you make, no matter how long those steps are or short, that we must not give up. And you have in fact been an inspiration to me, to my wife, to my office. I recall in fact when Mr. Labastide called last Friday and said to Miss Murray, my secretary, that was it. And I refuse to believe that is it, as I refuse now, you know. So I want you, all of us here, in fact, you know, to do what we can as he is here with us, to stand and give this wonderful, exceptional human being a round of applause. Ms. Bissessarsingh, I know we go way back. I mean, you were one of my students at San Fernando Technical. Yes. Palo Seco Secondary. And of course, I have your aunt here, in fact, who is the principal of my old school, Santa Flora Government Primary School. And I see the whole Bissessarsingh family that is all about love, about staying together, and I see your grandmother. And Grandma, we need to hold on, girl. You know, you came and you spoke to both the mayor and I don't know what to tell you, but you keep hope and you keep praying. And I want to thank everyone here for coming out to give Angelo the support, the publishers, for doing, in fact, that wonderful deed of bringing out that last book that we weren't aware was coming. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And if we are into legacy, let's teach our little children what we have learned from him, to save the past and to protect the past and to let the past inspire us to be greater and better human beings. Okay?
So as we talk about legacy, we talk about country. Right now I'd like to invite Marlene Galley to sing God Bless Our Nation.
Many varied races
Annie. Thank you so much. Am I the only one that felt emotional? Thank you for that reminder that we have to protect, love, and nurture this land that has been bestowed to us and for which we are custodians. Thank you. Well, we have a nice surprise for you. Your boys from NAPS. They have your brothers. They want to make a presentation to you, so I'd like to invite the NAPS boys to please come forward.
Excellency, the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Anthony Carmona and Mrs. Carmona, His Worship the Mayor, Alderman Haji Kazim Hussein, Professor Brinsley Samaru and his committee, Nigel Khan, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Syed Baksh, and it is indeed my honor and privilege to share the stage with this gentle giant, Angelo Bissessarsingh. We, the class of 1994 to 2001, lived the dream of Miss Jones. Earlier she said she wished she could have been in a history class with Angelo. Well, we were. He is known as the walking encyclopedia. He read all the textbooks from cover to cover and was always ahead of the class. A true seeker of knowledge, a great friend, a model student, and a true NAPS man. Today, Angelo, we are very proud to say that we have you as a friend, and we can tell our children that we know a national hero. Today, we want to share with you a compilation of our sentiments, and its title is The Letters to the Author. And we have greetings coming from as far as Singapore. Yes, we have NAPSmen all over the world, right? Nelson Mandela said, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers it. And today, my friend, you have conquered every fear. Fight on, bro. And as a true NAPS man, no matter where we roam, if near or far from home, let us be always one, Naparima. I would like to ask Michael and Jerome to give you this token of our appreciation. It's a book, so ironically, the author is receiving a book. Yeah? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Could not have been possible without the work of many passionate people, and our hosts would like to pay and say a special thank you to them. Please welcome Christian Khan, a member of the Nigel Khan family, to give the vote of thanks.
Your Excellencies, Anthony Thomas Aquinas Carmona and Rima Carmona, the Mayor, Haji Kazim Hussain, Monsignor Christian Pereira, and our most valued guests. It is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion for the many who have worked tirelessly. On behalf of Nigel R. Khan, bookseller, we would like to thank the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Your Worship, the Mayor of San Fernando, and distinguished dignitaries for taking the time to be part of this launch and celebration. By the same token, thanks must also be given to the members of Angelo's original committee, who are all currently present. They have all worked with valiance and precision to ensure that Angelo's books are available to everyone tonight, which we can find on the left or your right. Additionally, sincere thanks to Queen Bishop Publishing for bringing Angelo's words to print. Furthermore, thanks to the wonderful team at Nigel R. Khan Bookseller who have executed this event flawlessly. And thank you to Angelo for your puissance and preserving our legacy as Trinidadians and Tobagonians. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the honor of your presence tonight. Please enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks, Christian. Well, you know, I was told to give Angelo just a little bit of time in terms of book signing because, you know, we've been to some of these events where he spends hours. He wants to see every single last person. So I was told 20 minutes. He says, steroid packs working. So he's going to try and see everybody because evening, and it's been a wonderful evening. And Angelo, I just want to say thank you from all of us. We really, really appreciate the legacy that you've left, that you will continue to leave with us, and for sharing it with all of us. Thank you so much. You know, I like to say a few, like a little quotation that was shared with me. William Wordsworth, very simple, it's not in Latin, sorry to not impress you all, but it's simple. Life is divided into three terms: that which was, that which is, and which will be. Let us learn from the past to profit by the present, and from the present to live better in the future. William Wordsworth. And I just want to say, it just embodies all of that, and thank you so much. Folks, you can get the copies of glimpses, snapshots, any of the books, including we have Pancho's Dilemma, short stories from the cocoa field available as well. They have some copies available right across to my left, and you can get them signed. And we just ask that you kind of move along briskly so that we get this thing moving. And Angelo, don't stop and talk to everybody for long periods of time, okay? All right. And folks, I just want you all to say thank you for coming, and God bless all of you, and can get to your destination safely. Thank you.
Wake up and it's